USDT is one of the most popular cryptocurrencies. US government is already involved with USDT. They're going to use crypto to solve US government's financial issues. US currently spends $1 billion a day to basically service that debt of $34 trillion. USDT will eventually become central bank digital currency of US. Actually, US government issues the bonds, USDT buys the bonds, basically buys Bitcoin for it. The price of Bitcoin goes up. Could be evil tool used by US government to basically control the world's finance. Hi guys, my name is Sergey and you're on my channel. The channel where we talk about crypto and finance in crypto. Today I want to talk about USDT. For those of you that don't know, USDT is a stable coin backed by US dollar, or at least that's the narrative that they were originally opening up with. USDT is currently one of the most popular cryptocurrencies. It accounts about 20% of the total cryptocurrency volumes. USDT was created under pretense and to essentially have a safe haven, let's call it a safe haven in crypto, and as a way to lock in your wins in other cryptos. It's not volatile and it's kept to be equal 1-to-1 to American dollar. Now, there were some instances when the peg was broken and it came down as low as 0.9 or so, right? And as high as 1.5, at least that's what I've seen it over the years. Nonetheless, it's the original stablecoin, and it's the one that most people use. Currently, USDT, why is it pegged? At least on their website, it's backed by at least 84% of US cash and cash equivalents. Out of those, nearly 80% are US government bonds or treasuries. That is very interesting, and we'll talk about that. Going back a little bit of history, the project originally said that they were one-to-one backed really strong, and it was based in Panama until somebody realized that the mark of about $15 billion, that there's not enough billions of dollars in the banks in Panama to be able to guarantee that kind of issue. After that, the guys from USDT changed the wording on the website a little bit, and they said that it could be backed by crypto as well, and it's not essentially one-to-one. But nobody was too worried about this, right? And there was enough trust established in USDT to be able for it to keep going and to keep growing. The current market cap of USDT is about $137 billion, and it's the third most popular crypto out there. So we've got Bitcoin, Ethereum, and USDT. Funny enough, and it's interesting, the volume of USDT traded is usually at least double of the volume of Bitcoin on all the exchanges. What is up with USDT and why is it important to look into it? Like I mentioned before, it is the initial use of it was crypto that allows you to lock in the crypto gains and losses as well, I guess. And that's exactly what it was used for. Now, it's very interesting how the issue of USDT happens. Basically, you get a Twitter update to say, here we go, USDT printed another $1 billion. What is interesting about it is that USDT can be used to sort out the US government debt. For those that don't know, I'll give a quick overview of how big US government debt is. Currently, it's sitting about $34 trillion, or it's about 125% of the GDP of entire US. So in other words, if the whole money that is used to pay for all the services in the US economy was taken for a year, it would still not be enough to pay for the US government debt. Still need another quarter to be able to tackle that. And that is a staggering amount. And just to put things in perspective, US currently spends $1 billion a day to basically service that debt of $34 trillion. This is very, very crazy. And it's unprecedented, in fact. So over COVID times and since 2002, US actually has printed and increased the money supply of US dollar by about 40%, which is crazy. Now, the reason obviously US debt keeps growing is because it needs to pay for all the social programs and the budgets and the budget deficit and previous government's budget deficits. With USDT, it's really interesting because essentially USDT or any stable coin offers the opportunity for private individuals or companies to be able to basically undermine monetary policies of the countries that the currency, that the stable currency that they issue does. For example, U.S. government, for whatever reason, tries to contract the U.S. dollars into circulation by, say, raising interest rates. And USDT is, as it's a private organization, it may not adhere to that. It may just keep printing U.S. dollars or USDTs, which in fact increases the money supply. It's a very interesting situation where you got a problem where some private organization basically takes control, meddles with the government policy. But so far it's been okay. And my personal view is that U.S. government is already involved with USDT, so we have nothing to worry about. Currently, and the USDT has been known to basically face a couple of lawsuits from SEC and from a few government bodies in US for that particular reason, what is happening. Now, personally, I think that USDT can be used to solve a lot of US government's financial woes and issues. Essentially, in November and with the presidential race, which was ultimately won by Donald Trump, we've seen a lot of emphasis being on crypto. Trump actually said that they were going to use crypto to solve US government's financial issues. Now, why is that interesting and important, and how can it be done? Essentially, what is happening and is this: we've got a US dollar or USDT being printed. Right? As we mentioned before, it's mostly backed by US government bonds. So in other words, what is actually happening is this. US government prints a bond. For those of you who don't know, a bond is basically the way that US government or any government borrows money from anyone, from companies, from people, to be able to fund its activities. So the US government issues bonds, USDT company buys those bonds and issues USDT for it. Now, a lot of the times, and traditionally what happens with USDT, it goes on to buy Bitcoin and Ethereum and other cryptocurrencies, but mostly Bitcoin. And it goes to buy Bitcoin. And we've seen this with Bitcoin hitting all-time high over the last few months. So essentially, US government issues the bonds, USDT buys the bonds using that cash and basically buys Bitcoin for it. The price of Bitcoin goes up. So acute listeners or acute viewers might say, what the hell is going on? I mean, we're obviously going to see Bitcoin going all the way to the top and there's nothing to stop it. But what's happening is this. You would have seen a few ETFs popping up here and there for Bitcoin. Now, at the moment, all those ETFs are one-to-one backed, and which is standard for any ETF that gets launched. And we can remember what happened with the ETFs on gold and a few others. Now, what happens is, yes, the price indeed goes up. But the next thing that's going to happen is we're going to have leverage ETFs. So as in ETFs that are not one-to-one backed by the asset that they're holding. And the most likely one is probably going to be a third backed. In other words, what's going to happen, government debt essentially will flow into Bitcoin and it will be diluted by the fraction of the ETF, right? So in other words, the price of Bitcoin will not go that much because a lot of it will be held in terms of futures for the ETF. In other words, there'll be a perfect, say, price manipulation tool for those in the know and for big companies like BlackRock, Goldman Sachs, and all the other ones. Essentially, what's happening is the U.S. government is essentially putting the debt and selling its debt to the American people mostly, and the funds that are and the endowment funds and the pension funds and all the international investors. So, and that is actually a way to basically get out of it, right? Because US can use the money that they issue to basically pay off the debt that they have by and actually putting it into Bitcoin and putting it into crypto proper. That's very interesting, and I mean that's what I think is happening. And I mean, congrats to U.S. government and whoever does this policy. Basically, you guys are geniuses. Having control of USDT will allow U.S. government to optimize its debt. We already spoke about this. It will also give the U.S. government an advantage to be able to compete with other countries' CBDC or central bank digital currencies. The most prominent example of which is Chinese yuan. Since Chinese economy is the second biggest, right? I'm sure the boffins in the U.S. finance sector and in the U.S. government are really kind of taking it seriously and really looking into what can be done with the crypto US dollar. So I think what's going to happen is basically USDT will eventually become a central bank digital currency of US. Another reason why US would want control of USDT, and it de facto has it already, is basically USDT can and is being used to avoid American sanctions in countries like Iran, North Korea, Russia, etc. What needs to be understood that the smart contract that USDT is based on actually allows the issuer or USDT Foundation to be able to block certain addresses. So in other words, you'd send USDT to a particular address and you'd block those tokens from ever moving. So that actually is being used by USDT organization to be able to do it. Because of American financial system, it's really, really important that they will get USDT under its control, because otherwise we've got a real problem where private organization issues US currency. Now, what we see as well is there's a lot of regulation coming to cryptocurrency from US mainly. Right? We see a lot of arrests and we see a lot of previous mistakes or wrongdoings being investigated by SEC and other government agencies. Now, impact on crypto market. If US government becomes a more prominent player in crypto, and in particular in USDT, it will basically bring a lot of volume to the market, right? And that'll be a very big positive for the whole crypto ecosystem. Now, there is also talk about crypto being used, or Bitcoin in particular, being used as part of the reserve currency that is held by the banks, by the central banks of countries. Also, I think USDT is basically implied in that list. So not just Bitcoin, but USDT might be held as a reserve. I mean, the obvious positive for it is simplicity of use, and basically you kind of try to take the control of the non-banking sector by being the biggest holder of the USDT. And that's what I think the US is trying to do. The challenges of USDT and that faces is basically, there's one serious challenge where it's possible for USDT to be basically unpegged from its one-to-one peg to a dollar. Now, it happened before, right? But it all turned out okay because of the inherent trust that people who use the USDT have in the system. But there were issues with the backing of USDT, and it was essentially like shown that there was no fully backed. There was no full, like the USDT at different points in time. There were moments when it wasn't definitely not fully backed, but nobody cared about this. So basic and obvious challenge to USDT is essentially a loss of peg to the US dollar. Having said that, I mean, like as an example, we had the Terra Luna collapse in 2022, and that one was a collapse worth, I think, $23 billion was wiped off. And I mean, we had giants like FTX also collapsing, and even though from the outside it looked perfectly fine, and whatever they touched at the time turned to gold. Basically, I think what's going to happen is, I already described what's going to happen, is that US is going to use USDT to basically reduce the government debt by essentially sinking it into Bitcoin and into leveraged ETFs that popping around everywhere. And I think that's what's actually going to happen. Once again, US should really be into it, and the reason is because China is really promoting digital yuan as a alternative to yuan proper. So I wanted to leave you with the following thought. USDT is essentially a central part of any cryptocurrency ecosystem. It started in 2014, right, and it grown to this massive corporation that actually essentially prints money. In fact, USDT made it so a lot more people came into crypto ecosystem, and a lot more people are using crypto and actually learning about crypto. Now, that's a definite positive. I obviously support the USDT, support the creation of USDT, but would be evil tool used by US government to basically control the world finance. In the future, I'm envisioning a number of stable coins issued by a number of organizations, including the governments, to be able to give an alternative to USDT, and essentially those currencies will be created to facilitate the world's trade. Now, out of the obvious ones, right, there was a mention of BRICS pay, right? And we'll see where that leads. But nonetheless, I mean, whoever is in crypto should definitely learn and should definitely know a thing or two about USDT. What do you guys think? Do you think that crypto, first of all, will become the world standard for finance, and in particular USDT? Is it really controlled by US government, or is it just my crazy fantasies? Now, please write it in the comments below. Like this video, it'll definitely help the promotion of this video and information. Welcome to my channel once again, guys, and all the best.